Hello, and welcome back to my SHRM Sprint series. We're going to go over the last tests that I took in preparation for the exam and go from there. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so I don't even know if it's worth mentioning. Study.com had two questions, and I don't even think they gave you what the correct answers were once you did it. That was like, I thought Trusted Institute was bad, but Study.com definitely bottom of the barrel. So then I did Exam Edge, and that was very similar to Trusted Institute. It was 10 questions. What I liked is that you could customize whether you wanted it to have a time limit, and you could say how long you wanted for it. So the default was 10 minutes, but you could do more. And then you could also choose whether or not it gave you immediate feedback. And I tend to like immediate feedback because it allows me to kind of know right off the bat whether I am on the right page or not. So I chose to do feedback and no time limit. And that worked out fine. I'm sure I took less than 10 minutes, but I'm not worried necessarily. Like 4 hours is a long time for a test. I'm not worried about the time limit part of it. But having like a 10-minute timer for a 10-minute quiz, for a 10-question quiz, just blinking at you as you're trying to do the answers, like I don't need that right now. So anyway, I took it. It didn't have as dumb of questions as Trusted Institute, but they weren't, the most profound questions either. So it is definitely a lower rating for me. So here are my favorite study tools, and ones that I would, if I were doing this again, would consider investing because it would be cheaper overall than purchasing straight from SHRM. So number one is Mometrics. Mometrics had a 134 question test. They gave you the feedback at the end of the test. You do have to give your email address in order to go past question 5, but it simulated a real exam, and it had both situational and knowledge questions, and it felt kind of like how I expect the exam would be. That was my favorite test so far, and I feel like it would be worth investing in their course. Now let's see how much that would actually cost. Okay, so they have $129.99 per month, and that includes SHRM lessons, flashcards, practice questions, and then all the different Basque topics. So that is, and they have a 7-day money back guarantee. So that is a little bit more expensive than the exam prep with Angela material, but you get more practice tests, which would be pretty ideal. So if you were wanting to invest, that is still cheaper, way cheaper than the SHRM material. And you would get some good bang for your buck there. And if you gave yourself only a month to study like I did, then it's only $129. So if I were to do it again, I probably would invest in that. Second, I really liked the Prep Surette free course. Well, I didn't really like it, but it was second place. 23 questions, and they gave immediate feedback as well as you're going through it, so you can see what the rationale for each of the answers. So that was a good gauge. Then I would say Exam Prep with Angela is my third favorite. That one, I'm just looking at the free practice test that she provided. I think it was 20 to 25 questions, and it comes as a PDF, and then you go through and answer your questions, and then at the end it has all the answers and the rationale. The reason why this is lower than the prep Surette is because the convenience of being able to just take an online course was great versus having to figure out how to get, the PDF downloaded. I was doing it on my iPad over Thanksgiving, so I ended up downloading it and putting it into my GoodNotes app, and then I was able to mark it and go from there. It just was a little bit more challenging to figure out how to actually take the test in a way that would make sense for me. So that's why it's a little lower, but I feel like the actual content was probably a little better than Prep Surette. Then I would say Quizlet, even though Quizlet and YouTube tests would be the next one, so 4th place for me. They are less reliable and often not really indicative of how difficult the test will be, and sometimes they may have incorrect answers and stuff like that. However, it is a really good tool to get those knowledge areas up, and so I have really liked supplementing my studying with those tools. And then Exam Edge, 10 questions. Like I said, that will be my 5th place. Not too bad, but not great either. Definitely not enough to make me go, I would invest more money in that. Whereas the Mometrics and the exam prep for Angela, I would invest money in. In fact, I did invest $30 into Angela's study materials, which were really helpful for me. Okay, Trusted Institute is 6th place. And again, 10 questions, 10-minute timer. And you did have to put in your email in order to proceed. And then last but not least was last and least was study.com. Study.com was garbage. Nothing about that experience would make me want to invest in them at all. Yeah. Mometrics gives you so much for free. And I could see paying that $129.99 per month in order to get a better grade. And if I fail this time, I may invest in that for my second round of studying, because it was very valuable to me, that test. So let's get into some of the questions that I had trouble with this week. That I had trouble with from Exam Edge, and I don't think I included study.com. So from Exam Edge, and I did a little bit from Quizlet last night. Okay, so from Exam Edge, I got 9 out of 10 questions right, so a 90%. I missed a leadership question. The question I got wrong was question 7. A demotion, reassignment to menial or degrading work, or involuntary transfer to a less desirable position can lead to which of the following? I chose C, resignation, but the correct answer was constructive discharge claim. Now, I missed the word involuntary, because if you have a potential involuntary move, a demotion, a reassignment, or anything like that, you are opening yourself up to risk there, because they can do a constructive discharge claim. I was thinking, I didn't catch involuntary, and so I thought, there's possibility of them leaving, but that's not as bad as a constructive discharge claim. So anyway, so that was the only question I missed. Now, granted, there were only 10 questions, so I'm sure that if it was a longer test, I would have had more misses, but I'm not going to be mad at 90%. And then I took a little Quizlet thing. I just basically took somebody's SHRM set, and I asked it to make a 40-question quiz, multiple choice, and I got a 90% on that. I missed 4, and I got 36 correct. The one of them I missed that I'll point out. And some of the questions were a little wonky because I believe it's AI generated, so you got to take it take it as it is. I'm not taking this as a true 90%. But one of the questions I missed was the U.S. Act that protects the rights of union members from corrupt or discriminatory labor unions, also known as Landrum-Griffin Act. I only studied Landrum-Griffin Act. I didn't know what the actual other act was. I knew that the NLRA was the Wagner Act, but I didn't know what it was. So I just picked NLRA, even though I should have deduced that was not correct because I already know that's the Wagner Act, but I didn't know. So it was the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act, or LMRDA, and now I know that is tied with the Landrum-Griffin Act. Who knew? Not me, but now I do. So anyway, I do find those valuable because it kind of is working up my chops a little bit for these tests, but also there are some things that surprise me every once in a while, which is good. I want to be able to understand those things just in case they do come up on my SHRM exam. So anyway, that is about it. I don't think I really have much more to share. I may have ChatGPT do a final kind of quiz for me for tomorrow and see what it comes up with. And then we can kind of review that and do a final tally if ChatGPT ends up being a little bit better, like where it would fall with its questions. Anyway, this has been an interesting journey of looking at what free tools there are and how we can do it, and we'll see if I pass or not. It could be very doable doing a mostly free. I did spend $30, but a mostly free SHRM study journey. So not bad. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.